Ever glance at a circuit board? You know, those little green cities packed with all these tiny components? And wonder what all those little things actually do? Well, today, we're zooming in on one that looks, completely ordinary, but it's quietly fighting a really critical war inside the gadgets you and I use every single day.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Right now, inside your phone, your laptop, even the electronics in your car, there is a constant, invisible battle going on, and this is a high-stakes fight against an enemy you can't see, one that can cause our expensive devices to glitch out, to malfunction, or even fail completely.
And this enemy, it's got a name. EMI. That stands for electromagnetic interference. And for our story today, it is absolutely the villain.
So think of EMI as just electronic static. It's noise. It's this unwanted garbage that gets generated anytime electricity is moving around at high speeds. Now, in a simple device, maybe it's just a little bit annoying. But in the kind of high-performance electronics we rely on today, this noise is a huge threat. It can corrupt data, it can mess with signals, and it can bring an entire system just crashing down.
And here's the thing. This war against EMI is getting tougher every single year. You know how our gadgets are always getting smaller and faster and more powerful? Well, that means all those tiny components are getting crammed closer and closer together, and that creates the absolute perfect storm for interference. For engineers, managing this invisible noise, it's not just some important task on a checklist. It's become a real make-or-break challenge.
But you know how these stories go. Where there's a villain, there's gotta be a hero, right? Well, in this story, our hero is a master of disguise. It looks just like any other boring little component on the board.
So let me introduce you to the X2Y capacitor. Seriously, from the outside, you would never give it a second look. It's what's happening on the inside that is nothing short of a revolution in how we fight all that electronic noise. Its whole secret is in its unique internal design.
All right, let's peel back the layers and take a look at the X2Y's secret weapon, this brilliant sandwich structure it has going on. But to get why this thing is so special, you first need to understand the hidden weakness in pretty much every other standard capacitor out there. So every standard capacitor has this built-in flaw. It's called equivalent series inductance, or just ESL. Now, the best way to understand ESL is to imagine a pipe that's supposed to drain away all that unwanted noise. ESL is like this thick, nasty sludge building up inside that pipe. Now, at low frequencies, think of a slow trickle of water, it's not really a big deal. But at the high frequencies our modern electronics use, a rushing torrent of water, that sludge creates so much resistance that the pipe basically clogs up, making the capacitor totally useless. So here's where the magic happens. This is how the X2Y gets rid of that sludge. Inside its special sandwich design, it forces the electrical current to flow in opposite directions through two parallel plates. Now, if you remember your basic physics, you'll know that opposing currents create magnetic fields that cancel each other out. And since those magnetic fields are the source of the inductance, the sludge, they just disappear. The X2Y is literally designed to cancel its own biggest flaw right at the source. It's so clever.
Okay, so the theory sounds great, right? But what about the real world? Let's put it to the test and see how this clever design actually holds up in a head-to-head showdown.
All right, in this corner, we've got a standard, high-quality capacitor, the incumbent. And in the other corner, we have our innovator, the X2Y. Now, to keep this totally fair, they both have the exact same capacitance value, 100 nanofarads, and they're the same physical size. This is a true apples-to-apples comparison of performance.
And the results? Well, they're not even close. The standard capacitor, it does a respectable job. It reduces noise by about 45 decibels. But the X2Y, it crushes that, pushing all the way down to 53 decibels of noise reduction. Now remember, on the decibel scale, where lower is better, every single number is a huge leap in performance. So this isn't just a win, it's an absolute knockout.
So you see that difference, that's 7 to 8 decibels, and you might think, it doesn't sound like much, but you'd be wrong. In the world of electrical engineering, that is an enormous difference in performance.
To really put it in perspective for you, the best way I've heard it described is this. It's the difference between wearing wooden armor and wearing steel plate. I mean, sure, one might stop a stray arrow if you're lucky, but the other can deflect a direct blow. It is a fundamental, game-changing upgrade in protection against that invisible enemy, EMI.
Okay, so it wins the test. Big deal, right?
Well, yeah, it is a huge deal. Let's talk about what this massive performance boost actually means for the people designing our tech and, for us.
And this, right here,
This is where it gets truly mind-blowing. Because of its incredible efficiency and that unique internal design, a single X2Y capacitor can often do the job of a whole filter circuit that would normally need 5, 6, or even 7 other separate components to do the same thing.
Just think about what that really means. First off, you save a ton of precious space on the circuit board, which is absolutely critical for making our devices smaller and sleeker. Then there's the cost. Fewer parts means it's cheaper to make. And maybe most importantly, by drastically reducing the number of parts, you increase the overall reliability of the whole system. I mean, fewer parts just means fewer things that can break. Oh, and on top of all that, it filters 2 different kinds of noise at the same time, a job that usually takes entirely separate circuits.
So where is this little hero hard at work? Well, it's making sure the power going to the CPU in your computer is perfectly clean and stable. It's taming that crazy electrical storm that happens inside DC motors. It's filtering out that annoying hiss and hum from high-end audio equipment so you get that pure, crystal clear sound. Basically, it's everywhere that performance and reliability really matter.
When you boil it all down, what the X2Y capacitor represents is a perfect example of what's called elegant engineering. It's not about making things more complicated or just throwing more parts at a problem. It's about deeply understanding the root of the problem, that sludge of ESL, and coming up with a clever, simple, and fundamental solution that solves it at its very core.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, as you go about your day, what other tiny, brilliant innovations just like this one are out there, hiding in plain sight, just quietly making our whole modern world work.